Selected works of Mao Tse-tung. Unite all anti-Japanese forces and combat the anti-communist diehards. February 1, 1940. Comrade Mao Tse-tung delivered this speech at a mass rally in Yan'an to denounce Wang Qingwei. Why are we, the people of all circles in Yan'an, meeting here today? We are here to denounce the traitor Wang Qingwei. We are here to unite all anti-Japanese forces and to combat the anti-communist diehards. Time and again we communists have pointed out that Japanese imperialism is set in its policy of subjugating China. Whatever cabinet changes there may be in Japan, she will not change her basic policy of subjugating China and reducing it to a colony. Frightened out of his wits by this fact, Wang Qingwei, the political representative of the pro-Japanese faction of the Chinese big bourgeoisie, grovels before Japan and concludes a traitorous pact, betraying China to Japanese imperialism. Moreover, he wants to set up a puppet government and army in opposition to the anti-Japanese government and army. Of late he has hardly mentioned opposition to Chiang Kai-shek and is said to have shifted over to alliance with Chiang. Anti-communism is the main objective both of Japan and of Wang Qingwei. Knowing that the Communist Party is the most resolute in fighting Japan and that Kuomintang communist cooperation means greater strength for resistance, they are trying their hardest to break up this cooperation and to separate the two parties, or better still, to set them to fighting each other. Hence they have used the diehards within the Kuomintang to create trouble everywhere. In Hunan, there was the Pinkyang massacre. Footnote: for the Pinkyang massacre, see the reactionaries must be punished. Note 1, page 260 of this volume. End of footnote. In Hunan, the Chukchan massacre. Footnote: the Chuashan massacre occurred on November 11, 1939. When more than 1,800 Kuomintang secret agents and soldiers attacked the liaison offices of the new Fourth Army in the town of Chukwu, Chukchan County, Hunan. Over 200 people were murdered, including new Fourth Army officers and soldiers who had been wounded in the anti-Japanese war and members of their families. End of footnote. In Shanxi, the old army attacked the new army. Footnote: the old army refers to the troops under Yan Xishan, the Kuomintang warlord in Shanxi. The new army, known as the anti-Japanese Dare to Die Corps, was the People's Anti-Japanese Army of Shanxi which grew up under the influence and leadership of the Communist Party. In December 1939 Chiang Kai-shek and Yan Xishan concentrated 6 Army Corps in western Shanxi to attack the Corps, but met with a smashing defeat. At the same time, Yan's troops in southeastern Shanxi attacked the anti-Japanese Democratic county governments and mass organizations in the Yangcheng-Xinjiang area and murdered a great number of communists and progressives. End of footnote. In Hopei, Chang Yan-wu attacked the 8th Route Army. Footnote: Chang Yan-wu, commander of the Peace Preservation Corps of the Kuomintang Brigands in Hopei, sprang the surprise attack on the liaison offices of the 8th Route Army in Xinjiang County, Hopei, in June 1939 and slaughtered more than 400 of its cadres and soldiers. End of footnote. In Tse-tung, Chen Kai-yung attacked the guerrillas. Footnote: in April 1939, on the instructions of Shen Hongli, the Kuomintang governor of Tse-tung, Chen Kai-yung's bandit troops attacked the 3rd Guerrilla Detachment of the Tse-tung Column of the 8th Route Army at Pashan, killing 400 men, including regimental officers. End of footnote. In eastern Hubei, Cheng Zhuhai killed between 500 and 600 communists. Footnote: in September 1939, Cheng Zhuhai, a Kuomintang military commander in eastern Hubei, attacked the liaison offices of the new Fourth Army and killed between 500 and 600 communists. End of footnote. And as for the Shenxi-Kansu-Ningxia border region, the diehards are trying to set up a spy network from within and enforce a blockade from without, and are preparing an armed attack. Footnote. From the winter of 1939 to the spring of 1940, the Kuomintang troops seized the county towns of Chunhua, Sunyu, Changning, Ningxian and Chenin in the Shanxi-Gansu-Ningxia border region. End of footnote. In addition, they have arrested a large number of progressive young people and put them in concentration camps. Footnote. Imitating the German and Italian fascists, the Kuomintang reactionaries established during the anti-Japanese war many concentration camps which extended from Langkou and San in the northwest to Kangkou and Shangzhou in the southeast. Large numbers of communists, patriots and progressive youth were interned in them. End of footnote. They have hired that metaphysics monger Chiang Chun-mai to make reactionary proposals for the liquidation of the Communist Party, the abolition of the Shanxi-Gansu-Ningxia border region and the disbandment of the 8th Route and new 4th Armies, and they have hired the Trotskyite Yeching and others to write articles abusing the Communist Party. All this has one purpose only: to disrupt resistance to Japan and turn the Chinese people into colonial slaves. Footnote. After the fall of Wuhan in October 1938, the Kuomintang intensified its anti-communist activities. In February 1939, Chiang Kai-shek secretly issued such documents as Measures for Dealing with the Communist Problem and Measures for Guarding Against Communist Activities in the Japanese-occupied areas, and stepped up his political repression of the Communist Party in the Kuomintang-controlled areas and his military attacks on it in central and northern China. The culmination was the first large-scale anti-communist onslaught of December 1939 to March 1940. End of footnote. Thus, the Wang Chingwei clique and the anti-communist diehards in the Kuomintang have been working in collusion, one from without and the other from within, and have created pandemonium. This state of affairs has infuriated large numbers of people who think that the resistance to Japan is now finished and done for, and that the members of the Kuomintang are all scoundrels who ought to be opposed. We must say that their fury is entirely justified, for how can anybody help becoming infuriated in the face of such a grave situation? But resistance to Japan is not finished and done for, nor are all Kuomintang members scoundrels. Different policies should be adopted towards the different sections of the Kuomintang. Those conscienceless scoundrels who had the audacity to stab the 8th Route and new 4th Armies in the back, to perpetrate the massacres at Pinkyang and Chukchan, to disrupt the border region and to attack progressive armies and organizations and progressive individuals, these scoundrels must not be tolerated but must be dealt counterblows. Any concession to them is out of the question. For they are so utterly devoid of conscience that they are even creating friction and perpetrating massacres and splits after our national enemy has penetrated deep into our territory. Whatever they may think, they are actually helping Japan and Wang Chingwei, and some of them have been undercover traitors from the very outset. Failure to punish them would be a mistake. It would be an encouragement to the collaborators and traitors. It would be disloyalty to the national resistance and to our motherland, and an invitation to the scoundrels to disrupt the united front. It would be a violation of the policy of our party. However, the sole purpose of the policy of dealing blows to the capitulators and the anti-communist diehards is to keep up their resistance to Japan and safeguard the anti-Japanese united front. Therefore, we should show goodwill towards those Kuomintang members who are not capitulators or anti-communist diehards but are loyal to the war of resistance. We should unite with them, respect them and be willing to continue our long-term cooperation with them so as to put our country in order. Whoever does otherwise is also violating the policy of the party. The policy of our party is twofold. On the one hand, to unite all the progressive forces and all people loyal to the cause of resisting Japan, and on the other to oppose all the heartless scoundrels, the capitulators and the anti-communist diehards. Both these aspects of our policy have a single objective: to bring about a turn for the better and defeat Japan. The task of the Communist Party and the people all over the country is to unite all the forces of resistance and progress, to combat all the forces of capitulation and retrogression, and to work hard to stop the present deterioration and change the situation for the better. This is our basic policy. We are optimistic. We shall never become pessimistic or despairing. We are not afraid of any attacks by the capitulators or the anti-communist diehards. We must smash them, and we certainly shall. China will surely achieve national liberation. China will never perish. China will surely achieve progress. The present retrogression is only a temporary phenomenon. In our meeting today we also want to make it clear to the people throughout the country that the unity and progress of the whole nation are essential to the war of resistance. Some people emphasize resistance alone and are reluctant to emphasize unity and progress, or even fail to mention them. This is wrong. How can the war of resistance be maintained without genuine and firm unity, without rapid and solid progress? The anti-communist diehards within the Kuomintang emphasize unification, but their so-called unification is not genuine but a sham, not a rational but an irrational unification, not a unification in substance but in form. They howl for unification, but what they really want is to liquidate the Communist Party, the Eighth Route and New Fourth Armies and the Shensi-Kansu-Ningxia border region, on the pretext that China cannot be unified so long as these exist. They want to turn everything over to the Kuomintang and not merely to continue but to extend their one-party dictatorship. If this were to occur, what unification could there be? Truth to tell, if the Communist Party, the Eighth Route and New Fourth Armies and the Shensi-Kansu-Ningxia border region had not stepped forth and sincerely advocated ending the civil war and uniting for resistance to Japan, there would have been nobody to initiate the anti-Japanese National United Front or to take the lead in the peaceful settlement of the San incident, and there would have been no possibility at all of resisting Japan. And if today the Communist Party, the Eighth Route and New Fourth Armies, the Shensi-Kansu-Ningxia border region and the anti-Japanese democratic base areas did not step forth and sincerely sustain the resistance to Japan and combat the dangerous tendencies towards capitulation, a split and retrogression, the situation would indeed be in a terrible mess. The several 100,000 troops of the Eighth Route and New Fourth Armies are holding 2/5 of the enemy forces in check by engaging 17 out of the 40 Japanese divisions. Footnote: the Eighth Route and New Fourth Armies later engaged an even larger number of Japanese troops. By 1943 they were fighting 64% of Japan's forces of aggression and 95% of the puppet troops. End of footnote. Why should these armies be disbanded? The Shensi-Kansu-Ningxia border region is the most progressive region in the country. It is a democratic anti-Japanese base area. Here there are, first, no corrupt officials, second, no local tyrants and evil gentry, third, no gambling, fourth, no prostitutes, fifth, no concubines, sixth, no beggars, seventh, no narrow self-seeking cliques, eighth, no atmosphere of dejection and laxity, ninth, no professional friction-mongers, and tenth, no war profiteers. Why then should the border region be abolished? Only people without any sense of shame dare suggest anything so shameful. What right have these diehards to breathe a word against us? No, comrades. What needs to be done is not to abolish the border region but to get the whole country to follow its example, not to disband the Eighth Route and New Fourth Armies but to get the whole country to follow their example, not to liquidate the Communist Party but to get the whole country to follow its example, not to pull progressive people back to the level of backward people but to get the latter to catch up with the former. We communists are the staunchest advocates of unification. It is we who have initiated and maintained the United Front and who have put forward the slogan for a unified democratic republic. Who else could have proposed these things? Who else could have put them into effect? Who else could be content with a monthly allowance of only 5 yuan? Footnote: 5 yuan was the average monthly allowance for all men serving in the anti-Japanese armed forces and in the anti-Japanese government offices under communist leadership. End of footnote. Who else could have formed such a clean and incorruptible government? There is unification and unification. The capitulators have their idea of unification. They want to unify us into capitulating. The anti-communist diehards have their idea of unification. They want to unify us into splitting and retrogression. Could we ever accept these ideas of theirs? Can any unification that is not based on resistance, unity and progress be considered genuine? Or rational? Or real unification? What a pipe dream! It is to put forward our own idea of unification that we are meeting here today. Our idea of unification is identical with that of all the people of China, of every man and woman with a conscience. It is based on resistance, unity and progress. Only through progress can we achieve unity, only through unity can we resist Japan, and only through progress, unity and resistance can the country be unified. This is our idea of unification, a genuine, rational, real unification. The idea of a sham, irrational and formal unification is one which would lead to national subjugation and which is held by persons utterly devoid of conscience. These people want to destroy the Communist Party, the Eighth Route and New Fourth Armies and the anti-Japanese democratic base areas, and wipe out all the local anti-Japanese forces, in order to establish unification under the Kuomintang. This is a plot, an attempt to perpetuate autocratic rule under the guise of unification, to sell the dog meat of their one-party dictatorship under the label of the sheep's head of unification. It is a plot of brazen-faced braggarts who are lost to all sense of shame. We are meeting here today precisely to punch holes in this paper tiger of theirs. Let us relentlessly combat these anti-communist diehards. End of. Unite all anti-Japanese forces and combat the anti-communist diehards, by Mao Tse-tung.